Hi everyone, Diane here, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to paint something very easy, very relaxing, ideal for beginners, anyone who wants to experiment and have a bit of fun with their art. Everybody feels like they need that from time to time, very often in my case, so that's what we're going to do. I have in front of me a new set of Kuretake and Saitambi watercolors, which is here to show you what they look like when they're new, and to show you also what they look like when they're not. I'm going to use my old set today because I've got the 48 set there, so there's a few more colours in it. But this is the 36, and it also has gold, silver and bronze in it, which is nice, and it's a jolly good starter. I think they've had them on reduction at the moment, or recently on Amazon. So if you haven't already got a set of these, I would grab one if you can. They're jolly good and they're very liberating. When I first started painting with them, I really felt very, very liberated indeed from my little, half pan tins, like what I've been using a lot of lately, which is this kind of thing, which I do like too. And you can do lots of really good work with these. But sometimes you just want to let rip, don't you? And I think today might be one of those days. But anyway, I've been struggling about what I'm going to do today, and this is not what I'm going to do. This is a painting from last week that I was using to show you the Mark Jackman colours, the second lot of Mark Jackman colours that I now have in my fancy tube palette. Somebody said something about, oh, I can't have as many paints as you because nobody gives me any. Do you know how many hours a day I worked in order to be given the occasional scraps of paint from a watercolour manufacturer's warehouse? Well, it's about 15. So anybody who feels miserable because they don't have so many paints as I have, scroll on, because today is not the day to, think about that. What I'm going to do is, the reason I held that up was because of this. I am in a very good mood, actually, so I don't want anybody to get upset and think that I'm in a bad mood. I just have a very, very stressful life, like I know so many other people do, and I just thank God for my relative good health, which sometimes crumbles. And if you suffer from multiple chemical sensitivity syndrome, you know what I'm talking about. I can't even have a air freshener in the house without it bringing me out in coughing, and there's nothing much I can do about it. Anyway, shut up, Diane. What I'm going to do is a kind of something similar to this, but not the same. I'm going to draw overlapping rectangles and squares on this page. I'm going to also move my camera up a bit because when I use paper this size, I have to put it up a bit higher. So there we are. And don't anybody get upset. I'm not upset. I'm not complaining. I'm very grateful. I'm absolutely, and I don't want that there. Sorry. I'm absolutely confused and raving mad, actually. So never mind. Let's get started. I'm going to draw overlapping rectangles. They don't have to be particularly regular, but they just will fill this page. And I'm using a masking writer, calligraphy masking pen. This is a 3mm nib, and for anyone who doesn't know how to use it, you use it exactly as if it was a pen or a marker or a pencil or anything, and you just relatively slowly, you go over the paper drawing your lines, and you can use this for absolutely anything. Right, so I'm going to use it today for drawing the outlines of my boxes, which are going to be different sizes. And then when I've done them, they're going to be painted. And then when they're painted, they're going to be embellished. And this way I get a nice line between the different squares. That one looks a bit faint. You have to go quite slowly because otherwise it runs out of mask. Okay, so we're just building up another brick in the wall kind of thing. Oh, I know why I'm upset today. I was watching yesterday, I don't know whether you've seen it, but you might, if you haven't seen the programme, you probably won't have done if you're in America. But if you're in England, you almost certainly will have seen it. It's, do you remember years ago there was something called Live Aid? And it was Bob Geldof, who I almost knew. He lived just down the road from me in Kent. And he was, you know, Boomtown Rats and all that. And he was absolutely moved beyond belief by the situation in Ethiopia when they had that terrible war and so many millions of children were dying. And so they did a pop concert, which has never been repeated, anything like it, in London and in Philadelphia. And millions of people watched it. I think several billion people watched it. So anyway, the BBC have just done a 40-year programme about it and talking about how it failed because they raised a lot of money and it all went to the wrong place. As of course it did, because it all got sidetracked by hateful people who don't have any scruples. And I was just feeling so sorry for him because he lost his wife to a drug overdose and then he lost his daughter, and all because probably he had done this incredible thing, which if you get a chance to watch it, do watch it because it's very heartbreaking, actually. It had me in tears, that's for sure. Things haven't got any better. So there we are. That's my thought for the day. I have to sometimes let my feelings out. Don't we all? I'm going to paint now this arrangement. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it will all spring into clarity when I start to paint. And I'm going to focus on the yellows and the reds and the browns in here. And we're going to do something like that, which is, you can't see my water. I'm sorry about that. I can have that about there. You can't see my water and you won't see my drying off cloth either because I can't get everything into the camera scope. But there we are. I'm doing my best. Right. Where shall I start? I think I'll start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. And the point is you have to just keep to the inside. So you have to slow down now. I've been drawing with gay abandon and they've now left, and I have to paint inside those masked off lines. And I think my brush is too big. So we'll go down to an 8. This is a Princeton Aqua Elite, which I quite like. Now, obviously, I don't want to put brown in the middle. I'm going to put an orange colour in the middle. Obviously what? Obviously, you don't want to do two together side by side because even though you've got masking fluid defining your edges, and if you haven't, that doesn't matter because you can still use exact same technique. It doesn't really matter. But when we rub off the masking, we will have, hopefully, nice white lines between these squares. And this is a good way, if you're the new owner of a Kuretake set, this is a good way to try out your colours. I'm just deliberately doing what I said not to do, just to show you the difference between having, you know, if I did that and I hadn't got the masking fluid there, the colours would run together. This is the kind of thing you can really take your time over And I was going to say, if you've just got a set of Kuretake or anything else come to that, this is another interesting way of swatching out rather than doing them in boring old squares. I'm going to put a nice purple colour in here, I think. And then I'm going to start mixing them. These are straight out of the tin, so to speak, but in a minute I'm going to start mixing them a little bit. And we'll go for some darker ones too, so that we can put some gold on. Yes, what should we do that's nice and dark? Should we have a dark brown? Yeah, you could just swatch out your colours like this. And you could put names on them if you wanted to. That was another criticism I had. Somebody said, no names on the colours. And I'm like, what? I'm lucky, actually, really lucky, because I get very, very few aggravating comments on my videos, very few. But I have heard of people who have given up. I've said this before, I know. I won't say it again. But I'm not going to give up. Not as long as all you guys are out there being wonderful and watching. Okay, I need another yellow, I think. Should we have some yellow mixed with that, maybe? Go for some more subtle. You could, as well, actually, do two-tone ones, couldn't you? You could. They don't have to be all one colour. You could have wet in wet ones. That's a good idea. Yeah, actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to drop some more colour into these ones and just get some interesting, people say textures, but it's not really a texture. But I'm going to go over this one too, because I'm going to make it a little bit. Yeah, I hadn't intended to do these wet in wet really, but I've changed my mind. I'm going to. Oh, and something I'm going to do, I've just suddenly thought of, if I can find it. Gold. Gold, gold, gold. Right, this is a Kuretake gold thingy. Let me just loosen that up a bit. I'm going to drop some of that in. This is what I always say about painting. You just have to get started and you have to spray yourself a bit with paint. That's a good thing too to do. Always helpful. Allow yourself the freedom to change what you were thinking of doing. So I'm going to here just drop in some gold in places. A bit like we did with the little bird. We dropped some gold in and let it mix and mingle. I'm just dotting it and letting it run in the wet paint. Okay, and then I'm going to go to some of the others. Let me see. I'm quite liking the effect of this rather rosy brown. Very hot here today again. I'm expecting 32 degrees. I don't know exactly what that is in American temperatures, but it's 90 or something. Quite hot. I'm hoping that these are going to settle like this one. It's going to settle into interesting patterns and things. Just drop lots in. And this one, is that dry? Yeah, so we'll just wet that a bit. I'm just going to put gold straight into that. And then this one. Okay, now just looking at it, see where the balance of colours is. We want rosy down here, don't we, really? A couple of shades of deep pink. That one goes over to there. I must admit, if you take this turn, you're not really swatching anything, you're just starting to get a little bit more creative. So I think I need a yellow up here for my base colour. And then why don't we put some of this on, see what happens. And maybe some brown. Not that much, perhaps. Oh, I don't know though. It's interesting. Look at that. Okay, and down here, the dark brown sort of fading away there a bit, and we'll put some red in with it. Okay, I have another one here, so I'm looking for orange again. And on top of that, I think maybe a little bit of this and then the gold. The gold, I suppose it's mica in there, that metallic stuff, and I suppose it's causes things to sort of almost granulate, doesn't it? And let's put some purpley in there. This would look really good also in other colours, wouldn't it? Like blues. Okay, and let's mix that with some orange, perhaps. So what we're doing is we're painting wet on dry for the first layer. I haven't wetted the paper at all. So wet on dry for the first layer, and then going in on top of that, wet in wet with a darker colour, and then doing the kind of drop wash that we talked about when we did the bird. the first bird. Not the very first bird, but the first bird that went kind of bonkers. So we just drop the gold in like that. And then we've got another beige here, perhaps, something like this. I might have to tidy up some of these edges a little bit. We've got some pink in that one. But I have a nifty trick for doing that too. Now, I look at the balance of the colour and I think we probably, what do you think? I think I've forgotten to put the gold in this one. Rusty brown probably. Is that this colour? No. This one. I think I probably had some orange in with that. Some of these paints are actually running out. But I'm going to use them right down to the very last ounce. And we'll put some jolly old black in, dark brown, not quite black, in there. And then behind there I've still got another couple. And I think I've got one here. So I think we probably need some pink. It's possible that I might need to adjust. I can't quite see that. Oh, that's quite a big one up there, I think. Ah, no, there are two there. All right, so we'll change that. And then the pink up here. And this one over here, I feel it needs to be bigger. So it's going to have a line down the middle of it. Do I need another one up there? I don't know. I'm not sure. Perhaps. Let me think. Well, I think what I'll do is I'll let it dry and then I will decide whether or not I'm going to, I think I will. I'll take my masking thing again and I think I'm going to go up like this and out just a little bit to there. And that's got to be a golden colour, hasn't it? Okay. All right, well, I'm going to leave that to dry. Well, dry it with the hairdryer. Okay, so that's dry now, more or less, I think. And I'm going to have a go at rubbing off the masking. And this will take a bit of time, so if I can't think of anything to say, we'll probably scoot forward a bit. There is a special tool that you can get, I know, for this process, which is supposed to take it off more easily. And I haven't got one. But I don't actually mind if some of the lines are a bit dodgy, because I'm going to use my Molotov acrylic marker here to go over. Hopefully it will cover. Yeah, if I use that one, it will. So we can go over the lines when I've rubbed out the masking tape, paste, masking fluid. And then we can have a bit more of a tidy line than what we had before. You might prefer the lines to be uneven. That's also an option. You can do either way. I'm not even sure myself which I prefer. But we're going to do some doodling on top, you know, some patterns. With using some gold and using some pen work and stuff like that. And I quite like the broken line effect, really. I'm not unhappy about that. But we'll just take off most of the masking. I use a little shaving brush to brush off things when I rub things out, when I remember. You can usually feel where it hasn't been removed if you just gently run your fingers across, and you'll find the bits that are still there. But like I said, I'm not really looking for perfect lines at all. This is just a bit of fun. Sometimes it's hard to think of things to have fun with. I've never found that easy. I think I'm probably a bit of a workaholic. I think it's probably due to having to always work for a living ever since I was basically born. Watching my parents struggling with financial difficulties right from the start doesn't help. You know, my great-grandmother was in the workhouse in London, and I don't know if many people from America know about them. Maybe you had them too. But when people couldn't financially support themselves, they weren't given social security money to live on. They were put into basically what amounted to a prison, where they were fed a minimum amount and expected to work. That's why they were called workhouses. And my great-grandmother was in and out of one of those in London because her husband was incapable of working, because he had Huntington's chorea and he couldn't work, so she had no money. And she had, I think, 7 children. So that's my great-grandmother. And so I think these things pass down through the generations. Fear of running out of money and that sort of thing is definitely deeply entrenched in my genes. Wouldn't like to die in a workhouse. So I'm going to just go over a little bit some of these areas where it's lost it completely. That one I'm going to leave. This one should be restored. And we've got 2 thicknesses, so although that thinner one doesn't seem to cover as well, does it? It seems to drag the paint out rather than covering it up. Okay. Well, you know me, I'm not the kind of person who does things with all the details in them. I do like to have a little bit of freedom in my art. Oh, I should show you the painting I did for today's challenge subject, which is rumble, and that made me think of thunder and stormy skies. So I created this painting, which is a wet in wet landscape, and I show that to my members of the not the World Wide Web, the World Watercolor Month challenge, which is running at the moment, which you can join for $3.99 a month. You get all the ones going back to the beginning as well forever. You know, they'll always be there for you to see either on Patreon or on YouTube. So, and this is, I don't know whether you like this kind of painting, but it's basically the style that I always used to paint in before I started the YouTube channel. So that's kind of Ray from the grave, so to speak. Okay, so let me see. I don't want to do any more of this, I don't think. But what we need to do is go and have lunch, and then I will come back this afternoon and quickly go to the next phase, which will be embellishing this somehow. So I will see you soon. Okay, so that's dry. I've had lunch, and now it's time for part 2. I think I'll just add a little bit of water to my Schminke aqua bronze here, because I might want to do some embellishments with that, and you might as well use up the last of it. It just constantly reactivates and reactivates, even the bits that have dried around the outside edge of the pan. I think it probably will work just fine. And I don't think I'm necessarily going to use that straight away, but I'll leave that there, sort of semi-activated. And what I thought I would do is do some wet on dry on some of the ones that are not particularly patterned. So if we just pick up some sort of golden brown, and then we can go in here, and it wants to be a bit darker than that. Bit darker than that. We'll try and use a bit of that. I think that's not a Kuretake colour, so we'll just put in some kind of pressed down shapes on here like that. That could be a reasonable start, and then perhaps we'll pick up a bit of red and make that kind of a dark chestnut red, and then maybe we could do some dots on here, perhaps. I'm certainly not claiming that this is an original process that I invented, not by a long chalk, but it's not so much that matters, is it? It's the combination of the ideas that you collect over time from other people and their work, and that you develop in your own way. And then when you put it all together, you're doing an original, because everybody, even Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo and everybody except perhaps Van Gogh, had taken ideas from other people. This one I've made brown, and I think I'm going to, what shall I do? Here, we could, we could do a few circles. It's not each individual section that matters, what's in it and on it. It's more the whole effect of the whole thing, really. Once it's all been, I think maybe if this is gold enough, we could put some lines on here, perhaps. And we could put gold dots inside here. Maybe I'll put a row of gold dots on this one because it's nice and dark. Okay. Now we could have some white. We've got a choice of either brilliant white, which is this one, or the muted white. And I'm probably for this, I might go for the muted white. Let me see, what shall we do? We could put on this one, for example, we could put lines far apart and close together. Like that. And then maybe with the other end, one of my favourites, as you know, is the dot. And maybe I'm not going to go too berserk. I think I used up my reserve of dots on the last one. I did, so I'm going to call dots, call them a day, so to speak. And then I'm going to put 2 larger circles, or maybe 3. There. And then I shall take my black. I'm not sure if that's going to be big enough. I'll try it with this one. It takes up a fair amount of time doing all these embellishments. Okay, we could put more on there. They could be closer together. And we could put white on there. I could try adding white. On parts of the edges, we could put little white dots in the corners. I'm sure when you have a go at this one, you'll find lots and lots of good ideas of things to do. And we can, for example, we can take, because we've got lots of nice patterns on here already, we don't want to hide them completely, but we could do kind of radiating, that's the word. Little lines coming out on the bit that's blank, like that. Okay, and let me see. This one here needs something, doesn't it? Something that we could do that I've seen somewhere is, no, I don't think it would work on there. This one needs white. I'll go up to that one. I think that needs white. Well, we could do kind of wonky lines around some of the pattern that's already on there. So I'm just tracing around the shapes that are already there, and maybe we'll go twice on that one. And then maybe I'll put something like that there. Well, we could take the black again and we could do something like that. I think on this one, what I suddenly think I'd quite like to do is something leafy, yeah. Needs to be a bit darker. There we are, something like that. And maybe we'll come in with this beige colour on this one and just something transparent like that so it doesn't hide what's underneath. And then here maybe we'll do a very subtle flower. Or two. Okay, and let me see what else. This one I think, oh no, I can't do that because I've got that there already. Let's go with the white. I think I want to put a curving branch up there. Okay, and then maybe something like that. What next? This one's come out really nice. I'm not sure I want to do anything much with that one. And this one too. But I have to do something because they've all got to have something on them. So maybe what we need to do then, in that case, is to do a small area, like, what? There's food there, Oriole. A small area like that, a bit like this here. But then when that's dry, we can go onto that and do some dots. Does it take long to dry? It's not dry yet. And then another thing that we could do would be we could draw ovals. With little dots in. Something like that. And this one, I don't know if we can do. Not sure about that. It's always good to do something that you don't like, just so you can have an excuse to paint over it with gold. Yes, I think that's much better. We'll do a few more gold marks up here. Okay, so the rest of what I'm going to do on here is going to be in gold. And we're going to put here so we're moving now from geometric to plant, natural. Different possibilities for the natural world. Let me put some dots in here too. And we are actually coming quite close to the end, and that is clearly a flower. So I'm just going to go around it in gold. Put one leaf there and maybe one in the middle. This one probably could have circles drawn around these dots. A lot of this pattern that arose in these squares and rectangles arose because of the gold that I'd put in. So it's nothing wrong with enhancing it. That's my arm. Making a mess there. Now let me see, is there anybody who hasn't got anything on him? No, I think we've all got a pattern on us. So there we are. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. Another different way of swatching, you could say, or just purely pattern making, or just fun. So there we are. I think it probably works well that way for the camera. And yeah, I hope you enjoy having a go at that, and I will see you again soon. Today being Saturday, that means the next one will be on Tuesday. So I'll let you go, have fun, have a good weekend, and I'll see you again soon, everybody. Bye for now. Bye-bye.